the next question I ask is not what's wrong with the addiction, but what's right about it. In the short term, what does it give you that you like? Escape from distress, escape from emotional pain. Are these good things or are they bad things? The good things are the things we all want. They're the things we all deserve, actually. They're all the things we should have had as children, which means that the addiction wasn't your primary problem. Your addiction was an attempt to solve the problem. It is possible to identify with your trauma and make that into your personality, make that into your identification, which means that you're stuck in something that happened in the past and you can't move beyond it. So trauma can get a bad rap that way. On the other hand, we're not looking at trauma nearly enough. Even though there is voluminous scientific research that's not even vaguely controversial, that shows the relationship between trauma and physical and mental illness. So what is trauma? So trauma literally comes from a Greek word for wound or wounding. So trauma is a psychological wound. Trauma is not what happens to you. It's what happens inside you. It's not the hit that you get, it's the concussion. So trauma, first of all, is, you know, if you touch the wound, it's very sensitive. The other aspect of a wound is that it scars over. And scar tissue, while it's protective, is not live. It doesn't have growth capacity. So people who are traumatized get stuck at certain levels of emotional development. Scar tissue has no nerve endings in it, so you don't feel. So people who are traumatized, to the extent that they're traumatized, they disconnect from their bodies, they disconnect from their feelings, which is not a bad thing, you see. Because if you take an extreme example, a child being abused, you can't run away. The healthy response is to fight back or to run away. Could you have fought or escaped at that time? You couldn't have. So that the protective response is to disconnect from yourself. Trauma, in a sense, represents the organism's automatic defense mechanisms, but then that disconnection from feeling, it creates all kinds of problems later on in life, mental and physical illness. Or when the pain gets too much and you can't bear it, you have no way of dealing with it because you couldn't deal with it as a child, and now you get into addictions to soothe the pain. I'll give you a definition of addiction that I don't think is controversial. So an addiction is manifested in any behavior in which a person finds temporary relief or pleasure and therefore craves, but then suffers negative consequences, and they have difficulty giving it up despite the harm. So it's pleasure, relief, therefore craving, short-term, long-term harm, inability to get up. That's what addiction is. I said any behavior. I didn't say drugs. It could include drugs. Of course it does. Cocaine, heroin, crystal meth, nicotine, caffeine, alcohol. But it could also be gambling, the internet, pornography, sex, relationship, work. And in this culture, workaholism is rewarded, like my workaholism was rewarded, shopping, any range of human behaviors. The issue is not the activity, it's the internal relationship. Pleasure, craving, relief, harm, inability to give it up. Now, the next question I ask is not what's wrong with the addiction, which we know, but what's right about it. What does it give you in the short term? In the short term, what does it give you that you like? Escape from distress, escape from emotional pain. Are these good things or are they bad things in themselves? The good things are the things we all want. They're the things we all deserve, actually. They're all the things we should have had as children, which means that the addiction wasn't your primary problem. Your addiction was an attempt to solve the problem. And so if you want to understand addiction, you have to look at the atmosphere that people grew up under and what they're trying to escape from. So first we have to recognize that there's a problem and not run away from it. Secondly, we have to accept compassionately all parts of ourselves, all aspects of ourselves, whether we like them or not. Because all aspects of ourselves, they came along for a reason. For example, you might do something that you're not proud of. If you ask yourself the question compassionately, why did I do that? What need was it serving? What was my organism trying to deal with? you'll find the answer. So you can ask the question two ways. Why did I do that? Or why did you do that? Do you think there's going to be an answer? No, because that's not a question. That's an accusation against somebody else or against the self. Only when compassion is present will people allow themselves to see the truth. Now, if you ask somebody else, not, why did you do that? But, I know you're a good person trying to do your best. Any idea why you did that? But that's a question. And the same with yourself. If you put to yourself, no, why did I do this? But, I wonder why I did this. That's what a compassionate inquiry is. The answers are within all of ourselves. They actually are. And if we're compassionate with each other, and if we're compassionate with ourselves, then the answers will emerge. So that's the beginning, is to recognize there's a problem and to be compassionate about examining the sources of that problem.